Canucks win. Koskinen loses. 4 goals on 4 shots. The guy leaves the game with a 0% save percentage. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I felt bad for him. When the 3rd goal went in, and I saw the look he had, he was so pissed. And then when he broke his stick, I felt a little less bad because he's just getting angry. But being a goalie is hard. Being a goalie in the NHL is really difficult. Also, being a backup goalie, that's pretty tough because you have to stay at the ready. You got to be able to come in with very little time. We've actually been playing in between. And Smith has looked good. He was probably looking forward to having a night off. It's been a grind of a season. And the Oilers are looking like they have a chance to get to the second round and beyond. I mean, they've done pretty well in the Canadian division. Looks like their team's really starting to gel, not counting tonight. But when you have McDavid and Draisaitl, it feels like they can score at will. Cahoon has looked really dangerous. Darnell Nurse has really stabilized things. He's grown as a top D-man. And Smith, who Kevin Woodley was talking about, spent a lot of time in the offseason learning how to take his game, I guess, to get control of his game again. But he was back in. When Höglander scored right off the bat after the first few seconds, I thought, yeah, Höglander getting rewarded. Maybe Höglander can go on a little roll. Good for you. I love Höglander. Then Rathbone scores. First goal of his career. And I'm thinking, man, it'd be nice to hear a crowd screaming for him. But it was also really cool in this intimate environment that right when he scored, the first thing you heard was him yelling. More screaming. Yelling sounds more manly, but it was a very high-pitched. He was excited, and he's young. And it was a nice shot, and he had good instincts to just jump up on the play and grab it. Then Hamonic scores 3-0 at 12:27, and I'm thinking, oh boy, I think something's wrong with this Koskinen guy. That's when I started feeling really bad for him. But, those were 3 goals from the slot, each one, same spot, like below the hash marks, and there were no Oilers to be seen. So their defense looked scattered, looked ramshackle. Their defense and goaltending looked like it has for the last few seasons before this. Maybe when the Oilers have to play other people outside of their division. I don't know. They look pretty bad. Maybe it looked like their defense was their defensive confidence was kind of shattered maybe after the first 2 goals. And it was bad. Hawryluk ends up scoring to make it 4-0. A Schmid shot from the point, hits Hawryluk. He fights off 2 Oilers and shoots it right through Koskinen. Now, I was excited for Höglander and Rathbone to score. It was nice to see Hamonic score, but when Hamonic and Hawryluk score, who I'm happy for, yeah, that's an issue. And 4 goals and 4 shots, obviously an issue. Never seen that before. That was amazing. He was out of there. Man, there was a lot of rough stuff in this game. I guess that happens when you get behind like that and you're frustrated. Archibald gets hit by Schmid right in center ice. Clean hit. And for some reason, I was watching and I only had I'm out in Quebec. I could only watch the national broadcast or like the Oilers broadcast. And they were some homers. I think it was Louis DeBrusque, who was on the Halford and Bruff show the other day talking about fighting. Anyways, Archibald gets hit hard, and he's going around looking for revenge. He's skating down the neutral zone, turns around in the Canucks zone. Highmore is on the side, the board, the close boards to the camera, goes to play it, and Archibald comes up right behind him and just leans into him and fucking clocks him in the head from behind. So Highmore has no way of protecting himself. Such a bullshit, cheap hit, the kind of hit that gives somebody a concussion. That if you knocked him out this is extreme, but could kill them, like smacking your head on the ice. It's the most dangerous thing in hockey is hitting your head on the ice. And DeBrusque on the color commentary says, oh yeah, Archibald caught Highmore not looking. He's skating that direction. You came up from behind him. It's like stabbing somebody in the back and saying, man, you really got to keep your head up. So I don't know. Don't trust DeBrusque. I guess they're the Edmonton commentary team, and I don't mind like Larscheid being a homer. But the thing about Larscheid and all the Canucks like commentators and color guys, is that, yeah, they can be homers. That's fine. But they also call their own team out, you know? Like Larshed was the best at just saying, Canucks are playing like garbage. These guys got to wake up. And actually, somebody put on Reddit the four different calls from Rathbone's goal. You had Shorthouse and Garrett did a great job calling it. You had Bachelor on the radio where Hirsch is kind of over talking him and they almost totally missed the goal. And then you had, actually it was the radio one, the Edmonton radio, Ched, I think it was called. They had the best call. And their color guy immediately said, these guys got to wake up. And they were right on it. So yeah, it was a big start to the game, and Archibald hitting him, that was just bullshit. There was terrible reffing in this game. Höglander got an interference called because he was going into the offensive zone, and there were two Oilers in his way, and he fucking pushed through them. And he got the interference call. That's not how interference works. When he's trying to dump and chase. He's trying to get a forecheck going. Anyways, the refs must have known that, oh, we missed that call. So immediately they called Draisaitl, who he's getting a bit chippy too, and he has just like a little whack on Edler. Just like a little European whack. It was nothing too rough, but they were looking for something to call, and they called it. Enough of this. Look how many McDavid pictures they have on the NHL site. Here's McDavid warming up. Here's a different shot of him warming. He's very warm at this point. Anyways, I thought Highmore had a good game. Well, he had some nice things and he had some bad moments. He had a really nice defensive play though, however, on Nurse. Nurse came charging in 4-on-4 and Highmore cut him off really well. I thought that Rathbone had a really, really good game. There was one point where he took this wild pass behind the Canucks net with two Oilers pressuring on him, and he managed to like quickly settle it down, corral the puck, and just move it along. The kid has NHL level poise, and now he has an NHL level goal. The Canucks penalty killing, VC. You will not be here next year, my friend. Softly dumps the puck in. VC, soft is his game. Other than his hands, which allows Smith, who's now come into the game at this point, to take over for a 0% Koskinen, to just like one touch, Hail Mary pass it over to McDavid at the Canucks blue line. He carries it in. Now, this is interference, refs. McDavid carries it in, drop pass, and then just hit Schmid to make sure Schmid can't check Draisaitl or get in the shooting lane, and Draisaitl scores. McDavid to Draisaitl is magic. These guys are lethal. This must have been what I'd like to watch Gretzky and Curry back in the 80s. Minutes later, McDavid gets his 95th point with another assist to Puljujarvi for a classic modern Oilers one-timer. These guys and their fucking one-timers. It's like you're playing NHL 21 online or World HL. It's just cross-ice pass from behind the net, but they get it. That's how you score. Hamonic hits Chason real high as Chason's reaching for a puck, and they fight about it. It's funny because Hamonic goes for the hit. Chason's leaning in. As soon as he hit him, Hamonic, you could see him go, oh shit, he's going to want to fight. Okay, throw off the gloves. They have a fight. It felt like it wasn't a fight where both guys were pissed off. It was a fight where Chason was really pissed off, and Hamonic actually looked like he was concerned that he hurt him. And they just kind of had a bit of a fight, and you know, when the guys are talking in the penalty box after, it really looked like Hamonic was saying, I'm sorry about that. You know when they're doing this? Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. I'm not an asshole. I'm sorry. Sunset outside my house is incredible. Anyways, Grailvox scores on the next shift. He banks in a no-angle shot right off Smith's head and in. Grailvox has been playing pretty well. Like this Grailvox, Highmore, and Hawryluk line, that's a good fourth line that costs you less than $3 million altogether. Grailvox is big. He can hit. He scored that goal. I don't know what that means. I mean, he didn't miss the fucking net. Aren't you getting pissed off with all these guys missing the net all the time? Like, yeah, I get you trying to pick a corner. Sometimes you just got to get it on net, especially when Koskinen's in there. There are a lot of big open ice hits on guys reaching for pucks. Nurse just nails McEwen. And when he does that, McEwen's stick swings up with the momentum of the hit, and he catches Nurse. And it cuts him. And he gets a 4-minute penalty for that. Like, at that point, I'm thinking, all right, this is a chippy game. Now, if McEwen was maybe a bit more aggressive, if Nurse hit him, and McEwen, I don't know, it just like was like dropping the stick already and ready to fight. I guess you don't want to get an instigator, but guys do it all the time. And he didn't hit him, or if he just tried to fight him right away, I think they would have let the high sticking go. But you didn't. And sometimes it is good to play it easy, but I think McEwen just, he's not bad. Like, I'm actually impressed that he can, what am I trying to say here? He's not just in the league because he can fight, but he's not there's not much to differentiate him. And he has some games where he's poor. But I think that he can find a place in the fourth line if he does fight a little bit more, or is at least a little bit more intimidating. And I don't know, maybe he just kind of lacks that like killer instinct. And sometimes guys are just big, but they're not actually, kind of mean and aggressive. And in terms of fighting in the NHL, we've seen some really depressing news in the last several years of guys who get into fights, and it ends up with like serious depression, mental illness. I mean, guys are killing themselves. You can't ignore that stuff. So if fighting needs to go because of that, I'm totally fine with it. But right now fighting's in, and that's part of McEwen's job, where he just at least needs to be a bit more aggressive. I am kind of impressed with his ability to handle the puck, and he's been making some smart plays. He's been forechecking well, a little bit of offense. And if he can add that aggressiveness, he'd be a really great fit on that fourth line. It's funny, when you look at Tom Wilson, because he was in the news, we haven't talked about that yet. Tom Wilson, the first thing that pissed me off is the guy on the ground, Busnejevich or whatever, who's the only guy who ended up getting the penalty, or the only guy who ended up getting a suspension out of these 2 games. He hits him. The guy's down and he's not struggling and he's not fighting. And Wilson's on top of him, and he just winds up and he punches him in the back of the head. That kind of shit, that is really cowardly. Oh, you're a fucking tough guy. You're going after this lighter, I keep saying this is the second time I said European, but they don't generally fight, right? So you punch anybody in the back of the head that's defenseless, even in the MMA. You can get a guy down, and when they're out of it, that ref is on you, and they're pulled, like they'll tackle you down. You don't hit anybody who's defenseless. The fight's over at that point. So he's a cheap bastard for that. And then after he hits him in the head, Panarin jumps on him. He reacts, grabs Panarin, throws him, takes off his helmet, slams him to the ice again. That's super fucking dangerous. I mean, a few centimeters off, and just ask Todd Bertuzzi what can happen when you don't mean it, but somebody gets thrown down like that or hits their head on the ice. And they don't suspend him when they're playing. The 2 teams are playing each other the next day. What did you think was going to happen? Just give him a game. Give him just 1 game or whatever. As long as Panarin's out, that's how long you should give him. He shouldn't be penalized for being tougher than Panarin. Good for Panarin to get in there and try to stop him, but I would have given him a game for punching a guy who's fucking defenseless. This isn't a fight. This is a guy, that Bushnevich guy was on the ground, out of it, not looking, and you get a free shot in. Take him out there, and then you probably don't have this frontier justice the next game. It's just fucking crazy that Edler gets a penalty for a suspension for his late knee, his tired knee. And Bushnevich is going to get a suspension for, kind of went, I mean, what did he have? Mantha was following him around, hacking him. And then when Bushnevich turned around, he did go to cross-check him in the face with a stick. He kind of missed, and he ended up hitting him with his hand or with the butt of the stick. There's the intent there, and then there's what happened. That could have been bad too. It could have knocked out a few teeth. But I mean, you falling around and slash on a guy. I like how they go, oh, these guys are tough. Tom Wilson punching a guy in the back of the head. Mantha slashing a guy in the leg like a fucking chihuahua. Jesus Christ. And then tonight, so we've got Darnell hits a guy. I can't remember the play exactly, but I'm thinking might have been a bit of a late hit. Whatever. Stick comes up when you hit a guy. McEwen didn't go out and intentionally high stick you. You hit him and put him in a vulnerable spot, and then a stick came up, and now you're crying. Then Nurse is able to just hack and whack McEwen, stand there and do these like little kind of fake rabbit punches. Eventually gets a penalty. And then McEwen ends up getting a suspension out of it. I think what happened, though, is when Darnell first hit McEwen and the high stick came up, when McEwen was skating towards the bench, something happened there where immediately the Oilers bench stood up. And even the Canucks ones did. I was like, did he kick him or did he knee him? So he might have kneed him when he was down. That might have been like, I'm pissed off and I'm tired and kind of fuck you and I'm going to knee you. But the Canucks are getting a reputation now as a bunch of kneers. It's sort of like, I guess we have to talk about 2011. The Canucks in 2011 were not a tough team. They were an agitating team. And the refs don't like agitators. And refereeing is an organic experience that is not a science. That is going to come down to what the refs see, what the momentum of the game is telling them, who's the player that's doing it. And if you don't lead the way, the refs will call you. If you're more passive, the refs are going to punish you big time. And that's what happened to McEwen all night. He wasn't aggressive when Nurse first hit him. He gets a penalty. He was kind of passive with that knee. He gets a suspension. Nurse goes after him. McEwen is passive. It took a lot for Nurse to finally get a penalty there. But that's how officiating is. It sucks. It's even worse when there's fans around because they influence them. But this was a pretty rough game for officiating. Demko had a great game. Edler's taken some shit the last few games because they overplay him and they play him against McDavid, Matthews, and he's with Schmid, who's had an up and down season. But he had some good moments. He had a really nice defensive play to start off the third period, and he played pretty well in this game. If you can get him for a cheap third pairing sweetheart deal, it could be good, but you're looking at that left side. Hughes isn't going anywhere. If Rathbone keeps playing like he's playing now, who was just great. I mean, he scored a goal, of course, but he was great in his own end. He was physical when needed without taking penalties. He had a ton of great checks and positioning. The guy can move. I thought 5'10" offensive defenseman. He's going to get pushed around. No, he does not get fucking pushed around. He goes after people and he can use his body. He's not like Hughes. But Hughes makes up for it in other areas. Okay, so Hughes isn't going anywhere, so that's one left spot. If Rathbone keeps playing like he is now, and I think the team likes him, and I think Green really likes him, he's going to stick around. And your other left spot is either Uelevi or Edler. Defensemen get injured, but it looks like Uelevi or Rathbone is going to be taking turns drawing in, which kind of sucks for their development. You'd like both of those guys to be able to, it'd be nice if maybe Uelevi and Rathbone could kind of rotate, chew up a nice amount of minutes. Schmid's on your right side, Hamonick's on your right side, and Myers. And unless God smiles on me and the Kraken take Tyler Myers because Benning leaves him unprotected, or so help me God, we get somebody like Gorton in. Oh my God. And they leave Myers unprotected, and Seattle's dumb enough to take him. Myers is probably going to be here for the next 4 or 5 years of my life. Schmid, that's a big contract. He's going to be here. And then I guess you have Hamonick. If you could bring back Hamonick I know he was on a professional tryout deal and a cheap contract this year. Well, like $1 million, less than 1.5, 1.2. If you could give him like a 2 or 3 year deal, and you could pay him maximum $2 million, 1.5, $2 million. He's a lot fucking better than Myers. Although when Myers has the puck, he's awesome. I don't know. You need to find upgrades for the Canucks defense. I really think Myers is just pulling them down. And Edler. I love Edler and I love what he did, but defense and goaltending are not forgiving positions. When you make mistakes, they can turn into goals very quickly. It's not like you're Montreal and you've got Corey Perry on your fourth line. Or, Toronto's got Joe Thornton, Jason Spezza. Or the Canucks and their 18 bottom six forwards. You can bury those guys there. They can go out, they can have an ineffective shift, and maybe you lose a bit of momentum. But the worst that's going to happen is that you're not going to score and you're going to end up battling. You're going to end up spending most of the time in your own zone. But there's 12 forwards, so you can hide fourth liners that aren't effective and that are going to be sort of 50-50 whether they're effective or not. But defense is a tough thing. You'd like to have Edler making. Do you think he would go down to take like $2 million? The guy's making about 5 or 6. If he really wants to play more hockey, and whoever is the GM at the time, I hope it's not Benning, tell him we like you. We like your service to this team. We can fit you for $2 million because, shit, man. And do you want to take some maintenance days off so we can make sure we have more time for Rathbone and Levy? I don't know. He might not take the pay cut. I don't think he's going to want to go anywhere. He didn't go anywhere this trade deadline, although it was a pretty discombobulated one with COVID and everything. It might have to be the end. Which, it sucks, But sports can be cruel that way. Not everybody gets to have a good goodbye. Where like the Sedins in their last game score at home. Where they score in overtime. Not everybody gets to have that. And it's looking like Edler's exit might be one of those things where, well, there's not going to be any fans in the audience. And we might not know when we see his last game because we don't know if he's coming back. And I would think it's probably better to move on from him if he wants anything more than $2 million. And say, thanks a lot, buddy. We'll put your name up in the rafters. Do you retire his number? I don't know. He's definitely going to be up in the Ring of Honor. The guy played from being a rookie to now and has played well. He's been one of the Canucks' best defensemen. I remember this game against Chicago in the playoffs where he came out flying when Chicago had just totally had Vancouver's number for, say, like the last 2 years. I think they eliminated them. I don't know if it was the year that they got eliminated again or if it was when they actually slayed the Dragon. But I remember Edler coming out and Patrick Kane was coming up the middle of the ice or so. And Edler fucking rocked him. And I thought, man, if Edler's going to play like this, the Canucks have a much better chance of winning the cup. I don't think he ever reached those heights consistently. And that's just not in his nature. But he's always been a very steady, very versatile defenseman. Not really the best at anything. He's a smooth skater. He had a decent shot. Scored 99 goals. He's got a good first pass. He ran a power play not very effectively in the last few years. And he can hit here and there. And to do that over a long career is exemplary. It doesn't sound super flashy when you spell it out like that, but especially in the last year or so. But who knows? We'll see what they do going forward. But Demko had a great game. Rathbone had a great game. Edler looked good. And Koskinen had a real shit game, and the Canucks were able to get a win. That must feel real good. Cole Lind looked fine. Moving forward, how many more games we got? 7? 6? Actually, I'm curious. Who are we playing? All right, next up we got Edmonton again, Saturday, 10 p.m. These are Eastern times, by the way. Monday, Winnipeg. Tuesday, Winnipeg. Oof, fucking back-to-back. Thursday, Calgary. Saturday, back in Edmonton. And then you got 3 games with Calgary. These are the ones that were postponed. And, all right, and then you're going to play up until May 19th. Okay, still got quite a few games, unless I'm reading the schedule wrong. It's been really confusing. But I think the Canucks are going to... I think Edmonton is going to want to get this loss back. So they're going to come out hard, I think. And they're going to be pissed off, actually. I don't think they like the Canucks very much. I don't think they like McEwen. And I think Edmonton's going to win that one. The Calgary games, who cares? Those are going to be like preseason games. And the Winnipeg games. Winnipeg has been shit. Real shit. They're going to need to play themselves back into playoff shape because they've been a playoff team these last few years. It's all about the playoffs. So, speaking of which, playoffs coming up. Maybe I'll make a separate video for this. Reasons I'm excited to watch different teams in the playoffs. So, as the Japanese game developers say, please look forward to my next video. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you want. Chat about it in the next vid. And I'll come up here and talk to you after the next game. Bye.